time for talk. Each evening at this time, Monday through Friday, Rosemary interviews local personalities and others who bring items of interest to this community. Time for Talk is a community betterment service designed to cooperate with our local community betterment program. Tonight, Rosemary takes us by means of portable camera out of our studios and maybe into your neighborhood. And now, it's time for talk.
Well, we're at the Democrat again. We're at the Daily Dunklin Democrat. You'll have a lot of news in here. This is 1909, and we found a 1910 that's in much better shape. Dunklin County has never had a drought nor a crop failure in its 70 years history. Never a drought or a crop failure. And you know what's big news? Drainage. 1910, do you know what? We were a swamp with just some sand ridges and some high dobs. There was Johnson Island and 2 Mile Island and 10 Mile Island. And Lewis Houck, who was a great railroad man who was only interested in coming in and getting his railroads in to haul the timber out. Lewis Houck discusses engineers Kochitsky figures and plans. Now you remember, we did an earlier show about a man that came in here and walked this whole area of Dunklin County to talk to farmers about the possibility of getting their land drained. Now, one of the big obstacles to that was Lewis Houck. He did not want to pay for his land to be drained because he had no interest in the farmland. He was only interested in the timber, and I have read that he was one of the greatest obstacles for the fact this land could be drained. Mr. Walker was running for circuit judge. Remember, we had a battle ongoing between Mr. Houck, who is the timberman, and Kochitsky, who's an engineer and wanted to drain the swampland, and they are still battling that out. Someone writes on here, we went to the levy meeting at Hawcom Tuesday, and about all seemed to want the levy. We understood there were 225 votes cast, and only about 3 were against it. And tent meetings were going big in 1910. And here is a picture of evangelist A.B. Hobbs, who with evangelist Steve Burke will begin a revival meeting at Kennett the night of Wednesday, June 15th. Big tent, now going on, big tent meeting at Kennett. Union services every night and every afternoon, 3 sermons on Sunday, June 19th. Everybody's invited. There'll be a large choir. And they were greeted, he took for his text 2 Kings 20, big tent meetings and union services where all of the churches would go together and they would pay for a tent and have a big revival meeting. This is the era. But it says many old-timers are touched for the first time. Gamblers burn their gambling devices and seek the Lord. Now that is the day. The most hardened sinners cry for pardon. And this is the most remarkable meeting ever held in Kennett, is now in progress in the big tent just west of the depot. It's hard for the unbeliever to account for such phenomena as may be witnessed any night at this meeting. Men have scoffed at Christianity all their lives and do an about-face and declare they are done with sin. The dance, Sunday baseball, gambling, and various other worldly pleasures have not been directly assailed, yet devotees of these pleasures have voluntarily declared they would no longer indulge in them. There's a lot sale at Nimmons, Arkansas, August 10, 1910. 115 lots will be sold at public auction. There's to be a free train that runs from Kennett and also from Piggott, and it goes right to Nimmons. There's a band of music on each train. There'll be barbecue on the grounds. A house and lot are going to be given free, and come go with us. And Blakemore and Lasswell Land Company are the ones who advertise this. Another headline from August 1910, you rarely hear of chills and fever in Dunklin County, and you never hear of typhoid fever. Now that's interesting because when I was in grade school in the 30s, we had to have, they lined us up in the gym and gave us typhoid shots every year, or every 2 years, seemed like every year. So they had, evidently, somebody moved it back in, but I don't blame them for saying you never hear of typhoid. In 1910, in September, fairs were still big news. There was this is the 20th annual fair, and I remember that there were horse races and everything at these fairs. Dunklin County will raise 24,000 bales of cotton this year, and that will bring $1,500,000. And Dunklin Fair has been going on. Trotting, pacing, running, and then there's automobile races. The railroad trains will run so everybody can get there, and so they're really promoting the fair even back as far as 1910. Well, the thing that caught my eye was the phonograph here that was certainly in vogue at the Red Cross drugstore on the north side of the square. And you could buy one of these combination phonographs for $20 or $35. But what also caught my eye here in 1910, even $10 per acre rent in Dunklin County is cheaper than owning hill lands. Oh, well, all right, so we are touting our level land here instead of the hills. October, we're getting near election time in 1910, and national victory is in the air, and we urge voters not only to attend the election, but to take an interest in getting their neighbors to turn out and vote straight Democratic tickets. Not very prejudiced, were we? But considering our history of carpetbagging after the Civil War, we really had a problem. All right, let's start in here in December 1910. Sharecropping has paid some landlords $15 an acre rent this year. Now then, all through this paper I have read about dog walk lands. I don't even know what that means. I don't know. Here's cornfields on dog walk. A railroad was extended from Kennett through this land to Piggott. So there's a dog walk, they call the land between Kennett and Piggott. And the railroad goes through there. And they show pictures of the cornfield on dog walk and a ditch that drains dog walk and church and cotton gin at Nimmons, so it has something to do with Nimmons, and they're trying to sell the land. W.D. Laswell is putting in hot water heat in his residence. He is also building a barn. Now imagine that being, if you're putting in hot water heat in his, that means radiators. We had hot water heat when I was a kid, yes. So that was something for 1910. All right, holidays are coming, and we're getting ready for Christmas in here. Coming up in December, and you're already seeing pictures of Santa Claus. This one's smoking a corncob pipe.
He's not in a sleigh.
No, he's not. He's not in a sleigh. He's on a polar bear. And everybody's got special things that they're advertising for you to come in and buy something. Let's see what else. Interesting, as we look through these old papers, we realize that Santa Claus hasn't always looked like Santa Claus ought to look. In fact, this one looks more like Santa Claus than a lot. I don't know when the sleigh and reindeer started. If anybody out there knows about sleigh and reindeer, when we got to maybe when that poem was written, a little old sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. Maybe the poem made that famous. December 1910, and it says the first snow of the season fell at Kennett Tuesday afternoon, but it was a shame to remain on the ground that night. Some winter weather was experienced, and Wednesday was quite cool all day. All right, 1910, a way to make extra money was to do some trapping and hunting. And you see here the highest market price paid for furs, and they've got a picture of a bear, and there were a lot of bears, especially in the Hornersville area. Here's another one, furs, John White and Company. Furs and hides, highest market price paid for raw furs and hides. All right, and also here along with the hides and furs, Mr. Anthony, Kennett Engine and Boiler Works, own and operate an up-to-date machine shop, and he's prepared to do all kinds of repair and work, and it's all guaranteed. And that was still in business when we moved to Kennett in 1951. Okay, let's see. Did we interview Mr. Anthony himself? And we interviewed Mr. Anthony himself, and he has worked on those engines all those years. And I think the building is still standing. Of course, it's not a machine and boiler works anymore. And we went to the museum, what's now the museum, and Mr. Anthony had put some replicas of some of his earlier engines and machines there. And perhaps we can show some of those to you. Here's a map of Missouri, and the heavy lines are rail lines that were in here, but the shaded lines are the shaded lines. I mean, the shaded counties. Where did I read that? The counties that increase in population are shaded, and the percentage of increase is given in the small circle. And so here is Dunklin County, and do you know that the percentage of increase is 40%? 40% increase in population from 1900 to 1910. And the Frisco Railroad claims credit for the part of the increase. And Dunklin County, of course, is in that list with its 40% increase in population. And do you know, in 1910, we had a business college in Kennett, and the winter term is going to open January the 2nd, 1911, and it'll be organized in all the departments. And the days are the same as in the public schools, and Saturdays off. And it'll be on the east side of the square. So colleges are old hat for us here in southeast Missouri. All right. All right. So much for the end of 1910. We've enjoyed looking through these old books, and we did bring out 1909, and I don't know why 1909 was so much worse than 1910, but just look at this. Look at this. I don't believe that we'll be able to salvage any of this, at least any of the first. Let's see how far into the, I believe it's a lost cause. Yeah. All right. We'll perhaps save this for another day. Hopefully you've enjoyed looking through some of the files of the Dunklin Democrat archives, and I don't know if we even showed you the binding for this old old book. Let's show you that 1910 binding.
You have been watching
That
Time
was
for Talk.
1910.